Today is magical and has a magical unicorn. I just love unicorns.
Charlotte is 6 years old. When she was born, she was the perfect baby. Growing up, she was a very happy kid. She loved doing everything girly. She loved dress up, princess dresses, anything princess. She was a very happy kid. When Charlotte was 3.5, she got sick with the flu, so we took her to her pediatrician, and her pediatrician noticed she had broken blood vessels on her face and on her hands. So she ran her labs and she had a low platelet count.
We really began to believe it was serious when they called after just a normal lab appointment where they drew a CBC, checked her blood counts, and they called back and said, hey, she needs to come back to the hospital. We're gonna have to put her inpatient and give her a transfusion and try a procedure to start out, and then possibly a bone marrow biopsy.
She had a bone marrow biopsy, and they said her levels in her bone marrow were low, but not to where we should be concerned yet. It didn't look like leukemia, so we shouldn't be concerned. And her levels kept dropping. 2 months later, they did another biopsy, and that was when she was finally diagnosed with severe aplastic anemia, right before her 4th birthday. Usually with aplastic anemia, the danger is in them getting hurt. If she were to fall and hit her head and have a brain bleed, it wouldn't be able to stop bleeding. She wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't clot, because the platelets help with clotting.
Her normal was going to the hospital. It wasn't going to daycare, playing with friends. It wasn't going to like preschool and starting your education. Her life was visiting nurses. Those were her friends, were her nurses. She had more friends as nurses than she did friends her age.
At a doctor's office, there was a nurse that was named Becca, and I loved her. And we became best friends. Best friends.
She didn't know any better, so to her it was her normal. So at the end of 6 months, we were still going 3 times a week to get transfusions. So we knew it didn't work, but they did a bone marrow biopsy and her bone marrow was still very low. So at that time they said we needed to move on to the next step, which was a bone marrow transplant.
We had gone through 5 donors before we finally got a match that made it through. That was a lot to deal with, up and down, and the disappointment became normal after a certain point.
To lose the chance of the donors every time they fell through, it was devastating. I remember getting one of the phone calls as we were driving to the doctor's office for another transfusion and just crying on the way to the doctor's office because this was our chance and we just lost it. And Charlotte's in the back seat, playing on her iPad and happy that she gets to see the nurses again today. And you're wishing for the day that we don't have to go see the nurses.
Before transplant, we sat Charlotte down and told her that with the chemotherapy, there was a good chance that she was going to lose her hair. And of course, she didn't want to look like Daddy because I don't have hair. But, after the transplant and as sick as she was feeling, and it did start to come out, she felt so bad that losing her hair wasn't even a big deal to her anymore. She just was so miserable that was the least of her concern.
After transplant, Charlotte completely changed with the medicines, with the chemo, the radiation, everything. She lost her spirit. She lost everything that made her who she was. She stopped eating. She stopped talking to the nurses, to the doctor. She stopped walking. She stopped getting out of bed. She felt horrible. She threw up, her stomach hurt, everything hurt. And she was just miserable. I lost my baby.
As a parent, it's hard to see your child go from the happy-go-lucky kid she once was to just depressed and sad. You almost wonder if it was worth it. Like, could we have lived on just giving her blood transfusions? At least we had a happy child at that point. Now we have a kid that's on her way to being healthy, but she's completely depressed.
Like, I wasn't eating good. And I had to take lots of medicine. And while I was sick, I had a tubie. Like a tube, and it has food in it, and you put it in your nose. And it didn't feel good. It felt terrible, just terrible.
Our first meeting with Make-A-Wish, Charlotte was still very depressed, very anxious around anybody, even people she knew. So not until they came for a second visit after we were able to come home did they get to talk to her about what she likes and what, kinds of things she's interested in. So when they asked her what she would want to wish for, and she said, "I want to meet a unicorn."
When Charlotte found out that she was going to get her wish, the wish to go meet a unicorn, she was unbelievably excited. She was squealing, and knowing that she was going to get to do what she had always dreamed of was such a big deal for her.
We came in to this grassy field, and there was a purple couch. That was my favorite color. And I sat on it and I closed my eyes, and then I opened them, and then I saw a lady with a unicorn.
I was in tears just looking at her, feeling so happy, so excited that her wish came true. That I think she imagined it, but to have it in real life, it was just overwhelming for her. Just the smile on her face. She jumped up, she pointed at it and yelled it, "Mommy, Daddy, look."
It had purple sparkly hooves. I rode on it, I fed it, and I walked it. And then that was my dream. That was my whole entire dream. I dreamed of that.
I think it's important for children like Charlotte to get a wish because it gives them hope. To get to receive something, a magical wish like that, it meant the world to her. She still talks about it. She still tells people about it. She gets upset when someone tells her that unicorns aren't real because she saw one. She got to ride one. She got to experience that. She had that magic in her life.
Having Charlotte's wish granted really did help change her personality from the depression that she was in to it gave her something to look forward to. It gave her something to be excited an experience that she really enjoyed, and to finally get that moment of freedom from being a sick kid for feeling bad to us just being overjoyed with happiness.
Thank you so much to the Make-A-Wish Foundation for giving my child her dream, to have that hope, that magic, that it makes you forget about the bad times. It makes you forget about living in the hospital. It makes you forget about the needles, the surgeries, the pain, the tears. They helped give her the hope that we couldn't as her parents. We try to make life happy again after going through something like that, but to have something magical, it changed her belief in things, things being good. Things don't always have to be bad. Things don't always have to be sad, or you can wish for good stuff too.